Why, hello there. Welcome to our second Fireside chat. And today, it's actually a fire. You're in the pastor's suite this time, and it's actually a fireplace that has a working chimney. It's not stuffed with insulation, so we can actually build a fire. And I'm actually using the last of the firewood that I have in order to do this. I wanted to take a moment to connect with you all. It's Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, and we're preparing for the Triduum. And we know that this year's Triduum is much, much different than in years past, than anything we've ever known before. So I wanted to just kind of, I don't know, it's been a while since I've connected with you all other than the daily masses and whatnot, and I wanted to just be able to kind of let you know where we are and what we've been trying to do, and what we hope to have for the Triduum, and ultimately maybe even give you a little bit of a synopsis of what I'm thinking about for one of my homilies. So far today, we had a sound check today, which some of you caught on YouTube, not YouTube, on Facebook about an hour or two or three ago. And in that, we had John Farina and John Hoffman, who were playing the organ and cantoring and preparing for our Holy Mass. And beyond that, I had some AV help with Dave Prunier, came in to give me some help with setting up cameras and trying to get the internet connection to work. And as some of you noticed, the internet connection, the video feed kept going out, and there wasn't any audio and all of this, and we probably wrestled with a poor internet connection for an hour or so, because what I was trying to do was feed off of the Wi-Fi that's in the rectory and get internet connection into the actual church, and it wasn't working very well. We didn't have a strong enough connection. So Dave had come up with the idea, maybe if we had an Ethernet cable that was long enough, we could plug it into the back of the router in the rectory and run it all the way into the church, and we estimated we probably needed at least 150 feet of Ethernet cable. So the question became, how on earth are we going to do that? That seems impossible. He was talking about going to Home Depot to see if maybe we could get some off of a spool. And finally, I said, well, why don't we go check with Spectrum, with the cable company? We didn't even know if they were open. So Dave and I went over to Spectrum, to the cable company, and we managed to talk with the manager over there, and he got a couple of his guys to spool out 170 feet of Ethernet cable and put two plugs on the end that plug into the back of a router and into the side of a computer, and they gave it to us free of charge. So we took this Ethernet cable, and it's on the second floor of the rectory, plugged it into the back of the router, threw it out the window, onto the driveway, across the driveway, up through one of the church windows, the stained glass window, into the church, and finally plugged it into a laptop computer. 170 feet later, we have a solid internet connection in the church and a free 170-foot ether cable to show for it. So that's what we were doing with internet connections, and since then we've been working on trying to get the right kind of balance between cameras and microphones and all of that sort of thing. And I guess when I look at that, it's kind of comical. We had some fun figuring all of that out and kind of getting to the place where we were, and it's always a rabbit hole that you jump down, because you start out thinking, oh, we'll take half an hour or an hour, check the cameras, do all of this, do all of that. It never works the way you want it to. So you get one idea, you get another idea, you get another idea, and you have to follow all of those things. And before you know it, I think we were working on it for a solid 2.5 hours. And we think we're almost there. We think we're certainly going to have Mass in the church in St. Bernard's for Holy Thursday, for Good Friday, Easter Vigil, and Easter Sunday. The question remains now, how kind of sophisticated are we going to be able to get with our camera equipment and microphones and all of that? So we're going to see what we can weave together in the next 24 hours. Um, Besides that, I guess a takeaway that I take from all of that. These last few weeks have absolutely been a lesson in making do and doing the best you can with what you've got. And we've done that here with our masses. So many parishes have started live streaming, and the bishop has kind of really, he's been interviewed for the paper, and he's talked about what we've done with our live stream masses and just trying to stay connected with our people. I've got over 300 people on an email chain that I will continue to communicate with. This doesn't end at Easter, but Easter certainly is kind of an apex of some sort, it seems, for all of this. But it's definitely been a lesson in trying to do the best we can with what we've got. And we've done that on a tangible level with video equipment and internet and streaming and all of that. But we've done it in our liturgies as well. We've really, we know that Christ is present. We know that the Mass continues. But it's not ideal, but we do the best we can with what we have. And that's going to be our whole Easter this year, I think. That's going to be your story as well. And I know it's not the same trying to watch Mass on a television or a computer screen or whatever, but it is something at the very least. And we'll continue to try to do that. We'll continue to try to make things work. On my own, kind of from my own perspective, I've been reflecting a lot. I've been reflecting a lot on my own ministry and honestly the valued, kind of privileged place that I have being a priest, to be able to still celebrate Mass, to be able to still receive the Eucharist, to be able to still have adoration. And I know it's a privilege, and I don't take it lightly. And I've kept everybody in my prayers for sure. But it's kind of led me to reflect on my priesthood a little bit and how intrinsically tied the priesthood is with the Eucharist. And I know that what I have is an immense and powerful and miraculous gift. I guess when I think about it, my mind kind of goes into not only realizing what a privileged place that I'm in, where the vast majority of all Catholics are not able to receive the Eucharist, but every single priest is still able to confer the Eucharist and receive the Eucharist. And I guess it leads me to think not only of the kind of privileged place that I'm in to be able to do all of that, but I guess it also leads me to think perhaps all of you, perhaps all the people who are now missing the Eucharist, maybe, in this period of priest abuse scandals and all of the trials and troubles and all of the bad reputation, bad press, bad whatever that has been out there, we still know we absolutely love the priesthood. We absolutely need the priesthood in our lives. Without the priesthood, there is no Eucharist, and we're all feeling very much what that means. And I think, and I hope, and I pray that this becomes an opportunity for us in missing the Eucharist and missing worship and celebration together and missing the Holy Mass. Maybe what we realize we don't have right now can help us deepen our love for and appreciation for what we will have again and what we've always had in the past. I know it certainly has been like that for me. I've certainly looked at my priesthood in a new way and been kind of at awe to know what I'm able to provide and what I'm able to give and what I'm able to receive as a priest. And I hope and pray that many, many faithful, many, many Catholics will kind of find new eyes to look at the priesthood, to look at the Eucharist, and to be able to reflect on what a gift the priesthood is to the world. What God gave us is absolutely incredible. He gave us the means to bring his body into the world. He gave us the means not only of bringing the body into the world, he gave us a means of us being able to connect back to God through the Eucharist. Whenever we receive the Eucharist, we receive communion. Not just communion with each other, communion with God himself. We are connected with Jesus Christ. We are connected with God the Father. You know, a scripture verse popped into my mind the other day, this morning actually, and I didn't even know what scripture passage it was, but it was from John's Gospel. It was John chapter 10, verse 30. And I just had John chapter 10, verse 30 randomly come into my mind. I'm not claiming any kind of mystical revelation, but who knows, right? But I'm not claiming it. But at the same time, John 10, verse 30. And I looked it up, and it's Jesus saying, it's at the end of the Good Shepherd discourse, and Jesus says, I and the Father are one. And when I think about that, that's a mystery of the Trinity there. It's a mystery of communion. And it's also a reflection of the mystery that we, as faithful, are brought into every single time we receive Holy Communion. And so my prayer for us all this day is that as we reflect on the gift that God gives us through the Eucharist, the means we have to receive him, but also the means we have to be brought into connection with him, that we may find a deepened appreciation, both for the Eucharist, but also for all of our priests, for our bishop. And I can say I have felt it. I have felt people's appreciation so much, not just in this time, but in my whole priesthood, in the 7 or 8 years, 8 years almost that I've been a priest. And I know you all know what it means. So maybe I'm rambling at this point, maybe I'm being repetitive and going on and on. I hope to be able to preach a little bit about this tomorrow. Tomorrow's Holy Thursday. Holy Thursday is, of course, when we commemorate the institution of the Eucharist. It's also when we commemorate the institution of the priesthood, because the two are absolutely inseparable. And then on Good Friday, we're going to have a veneration of the cross. It's going to be different, a little different. We're going to expose the cross, and we're going to play a hymn, and we're going to have that wooden cross framed in the camera. And we're going to have a hymn. John Farina and John Hoffman will play a hymn, and we'll just have that hymn play while we look at the cross. And then for the Easter Vigil, we'll have our Mass, and of course on Easter Sunday as well. I want to let you all know that I'm praying for you, that I'm keeping you in prayer, and I know you are, me as well. I've heard so many stories already, just in your short emails, about things that are going on in your lives, things that are going on. You know, life doesn't end, life doesn't stop just because we're kind of hunkered down like this. And I know so many of you have had so many things happening in your families and in your homes, and I keep you all in my prayers, and I know that you're praying for me as well. We'll have a beautiful Mass tomorrow. Father Brito is going to be our celebrant. I'm going to be the homilist. On Good Friday, it'll be a reversal. I'll be the celebrant, and Father Brito will offer you a few words. I look forward to being able to offer that for you all. And even though we won't see each other in real time and in person, we will see each other in spirit and through this internet connection. God bless you all, and a blessed and holy Triduum as we enter into this in these next few days. Peace.